Brazil is the defining dystopian nightmare of the 1980s, a film that made bureaucracy look more terrifying than any monster. But the version you saw was almost a completely different movie. Did you know the studio secretly created an entirely different ending that completely betrayed the film's message? Or that one of Hollywood's biggest stars nearly quit acting after his experience on this film? Today, we're uncovering 15 hidden truths about Brazil from 1985, including a shocking secret connection to the Monty Python franchise that most viewers never notice. Number 1. The band ending the studio tried to force on audiences. Universal Pictures hated Terry Gilliam's original conclusion, where Sam Lowry is tortured and retreats into a permanent fantasy state. They secretly created what they called the Love Conquers All cut, where Sam escapes with Jill Layton to a happy ending. This version completely undermined the film's critique of authoritarianism and the power of denial. Gilliam was horrified when he discovered this alternate version existed. He fought a bitter battle against studio head Sid Sheinberg, even taking out a full-page ad in Variety magazine that simply read, "Dear Sid Sheinberg, when are you going to release my film Brazil?" The public battle became a Hollywood legend. Gilliam eventually won, and his darker ending was released, but the Love Conquers All version did air on television once, confusing viewers who wondered what all the controversy was about. The most terrifying dystopia in film history almost had a happy ending that would have destroyed everything it stood for. Number 2. Robert De Niro's nightmare experience that nearly ended his career. De Niro played Harry Tuttle, the rogue heating engineer, a role he pursued aggressively because he wanted to play someone who was good with his hands. But his experience on set was miserable. Gilliam's chaotic directing style and the elaborate, dangerous sets frustrated the method actor. De Niro found it difficult to work in the cramped, overheated conditions created for the dystopian world. He and Gilliam clashed repeatedly over the character's direction. After filming Wrapped, De Niro was so disillusioned that he seriously considered quitting acting altogether. He didn't make another film for over a year afterward. The most famous actor in the movie appears for less than 15 minutes, and getting those minutes nearly cost cinema one of its greatest performers. Number 3. The hidden Monty Python connection you can spot yourself. Look carefully at the scene where Sam Lowry's mother Ida is having her bizarre facial treatments. The machine that stretches and pulls her skin was actually designed and built by the same special effects team that created many of the grotesque creations for Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. Gilliam, of course, was a founding member of the Python troupe. But there's a more subtle connection. The bizarre bureaucratic forms and procedures in Brazil directly parody the absurd paperwork featured in the Python sketch The Ministry of Silly Walks. Watch for the form Sam fills out that requires Form 27B6. This is a direct callback to a Python reference. The most subversive dystopia in cinema history was built on the foundation of comedy that made its director famous. Number 4. The title has absolutely nothing to do with the country. Despite the tropical name and the recurring song Aquarela do Brasil, the film has no connection to the actual nation of Brazil. Gilliam chose the title simply because he loved the 1939 song by Ari Barroso, which appears throughout the film as a recurring motif. The song represents Sam's escapist fantasies, a dream of somewhere warm and free, versus the cold, mechanical reality of his world. Gilliam has said he wanted a title that sounded exotic and romantic to contrast with the bleak story. The song became so associated with the film that Barroso's family initially expressed concern about how their beloved Brazilian anthem would be used in such a dark movie. The most Brazilian thing about this film is that it's not Brazilian at all. Number 5. Jonathan Pryce wasn't the first choice for Sam Lowry. The role that would define Pryce's career was almost played by someone else entirely. Tom Cruise was seriously considered for the part, but Gilliam found him too young and all-American for the role. Tim Curry auditioned but was deemed too theatrical. Even Robert De Niro was initially considered for Sam before Gilliam decided to cast him as Tuttle instead. Pryce, a relatively unknown stage actor at the time, impressed Gilliam with his ability to convey both the mundane and fantastical aspects of the character. Gilliam later said Pryce was the only actor who could make the audience believe Sam was both a hero and a coward simultaneously. The actor who became the face of dystopian bureaucracy wasn't even on the initial casting list. Number 6. The elaborate sets were built from actual junk. The distinctive look of Brazil, with its omnipresent ducts, cramped spaces, and retro-futuristic technology, came largely from production designer Norman Garwood's brilliant use of reclaimed materials. The massive duct systems that dominate nearly every frame were made from actual industrial pipes and tubes salvaged from demolition sites. The computers were built from old transistor radios and other electronic junk. Even the food in the restaurant scenes was largely inedible, constructed from plastic and other materials to look appetizing on camera but completely synthetic. This wasn't just about saving money. Gilliam wanted the world to feel authentically worn and decrepit, not like a clean science fiction set. The most visually distinctive dystopia in film history was literally built from other people's garbage. Number 7. The film's critique of consumerism was almost cut by advertisers. Several companies pulled their product placement from the film when they realized how negatively their brands were portrayed. The most famous example is the Buttle versus Tuttle confusion, a direct jab at bureaucratic incompetence that no real company wanted associated with their products. The scene where Sam's mother demonstrates bizarre beauty products was originally going to feature real cosmetics brands, but every company approached refused after reading the full script. Even the restaurant scenes, which feature elaborate but unappetizing food, were designed to mock consumer culture. Gilliam had to create fictional brands throughout the film, which actually strengthened his vision of a world where surface appearance matters more than substance. The film that savagely criticized consumerism was itself rejected by consumers before it was even finished. Number 8. The bureaucracy was inspired by Gilliam's own nightmares. The suffocating, absurd bureaucracy in Brazil wasn't based on one dramatic incident. It came from Terry Gilliam's personal experiences with corporate and television bureaucracy. As a former member of Monty Python trying to get films made in Hollywood, Gilliam spent years drowning in paperwork, dealing with studio executives, and navigating endless red tape. He has said in interviews that the film's bureaucratic horror came directly from his frustration with having to fill out forms to get forms approved, only to need more forms to process those forms. The scene where Sam desperately searches for the correct paperwork wasn't fantasy, it was Gilliam's reality. Combined with influences from Franz Kafka and George Orwell's 1984, the film transformed everyday administrative frustration into totalitarian nightmare. The most relatable horror in the film came from the most universal experience: trying to get something done in a system designed to stop you. Number 9. The dream sequences used a technique Gilliam invented himself. The distinctive look of Sam's flying sequences, where he battles monsters in armor while soaring through clouds, required a new approach to special effects. Gilliam combined rear projection, forced perspective, and carefully choreographed camera movements to create a sense of weightless flight without the computer technology that would become standard just a decade later. Most remarkably, many of the clouds Sam flies through were actually created by photographing cotton balls and other household materials through extreme close-up lenses. The fantasy sequences that look like they cost millions were achieved with materials you could buy at a grocery store. The most fantastical visuals in the film were created with the most ordinary objects. Number 10. The film predicted our surveillance state with terrifying accuracy. Brazil's vision of a world where citizens are constantly monitored, where incorrect thoughts can lead to arrest, and where personal information is collected without consent, seemed like exaggeration in 1985. Today, it looks almost optimistic compared to our reality of smartphone tracking, facial recognition, and data mining. Gilliam has said he wasn't trying to predict the future, but merely extending trends he saw in 1980s society. The film's central joke, that the government can't even keep its files straight while maintaining total surveillance, has become our reality. We have the surveillance without the incompetence. The dystopia that seemed like dark fantasy has become our everyday life. Number 11. Kim Greist almost quit acting after making this film. Playing Jill Layton, the love interest, was supposed to be Greist's breakthrough role. Instead, it nearly ended her career. She found Gilliam's directing style chaotic and stressful, with scenes being rewritten daily, and her character's motivation shifting constantly. The infamous scene where she's covered in mud and debris took days to film, leaving her exhausted and frustrated. After Brazil wrapped, Greist took a long hiatus from acting, appearing in only a handful of films afterward before largely leaving the industry. She has rarely spoken about her experience making Brazil, but those who worked on the film say it broke something in her. The woman who was supposed to be the dream girl of a dystopia had her own dreams crushed by making it. Number 12. The film's release was delayed for nearly a year by studio battles. After completing the film in early 1985, Gilliam expected a standard release timeline. Instead, Universal sat on the finished movie for months as the battle over the ending raged. The film was completed in February 1985, but didn't premiere until December, and then only in limited release. It didn't expand to more theaters until February 1986. During this delay, bootleg copies of Gilliam's preferred cut began circulating among film fans, building underground buzz. By the time Universal finally released the film properly, it had already developed a cult following among those who had seen pirated copies. The studio's attempt to control the film actually created the cult phenomenon they had feared. Number 13. The Love Conquers All cut is the real deleted ending. What most people don't realize is that the alternate ending isn't just a few deleted scenes. It's an entirely different 20-minute conclusion that Universal Pictures created without Gilliam's knowledge. In this version, after Sam and Jill escape, they actually drive away to a peaceful countryside cottage. The torture scenes are removed entirely. Sam never breaks. The system doesn't win. It's a conventional Hollywood happy ending that completely betrays the film's entire message about the power of authoritarianism and the danger of escapism. Gilliam only discovered this version existed when he was shown a screening copy. This alternate cut did air on television a few times in the late 1980s, confusing viewers who had heard about the film's dark reputation but saw what looked like a romantic adventure. The deleted ending isn't missing footage. It's a complete philosophical betrayal that proves why Gilliam fought so hard to protect his vision. Number 14. Michael Kamen's score was created under impossible conditions. Composer Michael Kamen had just 3 weeks to score the entire film after the previous composer was fired. Working from a rough cut that kept changing, Kamen created one of the most distinctive scores of the 1980s. He incorporated the Aquarela do Brasil theme in various forms throughout the film, transforming it from a cheerful samba into something increasingly distorted and ominous as Sam's mental state deteriorates. The most remarkable aspect is that Kamen wrote much of the orchestral music to be played slightly out of tune, creating a subtle sense of wrongness that most viewers feel without consciously noticing. The music that sounds like it's slightly off is precisely calculated to be that way. Number 15. The film's most devastating line was almost removed. "He should be a perfectly normal, happy boy," spoken by Sam's mother Ida after his mind has been completely destroyed by torture, is the line that haunts viewers long after the film ends. But studio executives wanted it cut, arguing it was too cruel and would alienate audiences. Gilliam insisted it stay, knowing it was the perfect final blow. The line is devastating because it's delivered with genuine maternal pride. Ida isn't being sarcastic or tragic. She truly believes her son is now normal and happy because he has been completely broken and lobotomized by the system. The woman who spent the entire film obsessed with cosmetic surgery and surface appearances is now satisfied that her son looks content, even though his mind is gone. It's the ultimate indictment of a society that values compliance over consciousness, appearance over truth. The most chilling line in the film isn't shouted by a villain. It's whispered with love, by a mother who doesn't realize she's celebrating her son's destruction. Brazil isn't really about a dystopian future at all. It's about the present moment, when we choose comforting lies over painful truths. Sam's tragedy isn't that he lives in a totalitarian state, but that he retreats into fantasy rather than face reality. If you discovered the world you lived in was built on lies, would you fight to change it or escape into a dream of your own making? Hit subscribe, because every week we uncover the secrets Hollywood buried in the films you thought you knew.